What's good, y'all? I've got a pretty big change here. If you are new here and you just happen to be clicking on this video because you saw the cool thumbnail and title and all that, as you can probably tell, this is not your average run-of-the-mill ROM hack. You can find a link to these Google Sheets in the description below. I highly, highly, highly recommend you check that out. Bookmark it, whatever you want to do if this type of thing interests you, so you can check back, and also so you can look at all of the Pokemon buffs and changes, and most importantly, so you can look at 600 plus move buffs and changes. It took me several months to document those out on the Google Sheet, and it's really important that you give those a look to understand how all of the Pokemon function now, because like I said, I buffed 600. I buffed and changed 600 plus new moves, and there's a bunch of brand new moves that exist as well, and a lot of those are really important moves. So please give those a look. But with that being said, yes, Carbink evolves into Diancie. Yes, Carbink can run a Violite. It's nothing broken in this hack at all. It's just a nice bulky Pokemon, one of many. Don't get it twisted. It's incredibly bulky, and it's useful even over Diancie, even over Mega Diancie. You can justify Carbink in certain situations. I would say once you get to Mega Stone, it's a bit harder to justify because the versatility of having bulky Diancie with Magic Bounce and Mega Diancie with just the stats, the raw stats, it's really hard to justify Carbink at that point. But it wouldn't be bad. You can still use Carbink until you can use it for the whole game. Hence why it evolved with the gem. All a Violite viable or a Violite intended Pokemon evolve with a gem, so that way you don't have to spam your evolution every level. And they also evolve with gems because therefore I can control the level at which you can get them. So yeah, Carbink, awesome. Diancie, awesome. Great abilities fitting on all of them. Magic Bounce is on base Diancie now to make it more worth using. Magic Bounce in general in this hack is pretty crazy because a lot of the anti-setup stuff is like taunt and all that kinds of stuff. And bypassing taunt, or I guess bouncing back taunt is invaluable. That lets Diancie get off stuff like Calm Mind's a lot easier, and it's very bulky. So even if, like, for example, a lot of common crit moves like First Impression and Sucker Punch, well, Sucker Punch doesn't crit, but I was mixing up Priority and crit. A lot of common crit moves like Wicked Blow is what I was thinking of. Wicked Blow and First Impression, those other moves are resisted by your Rock and Fairy typing. Rock and Fairy is pretty damn great, especially when you have Levitate as an option. All Pokemon in this hack are balanced to have two useful abilities that they can switch between. So you're running Levitate when you need it. Otherwise, you're running your actual ability. Levitate is something you will switch on when you see that there's a ground type move that you need to switch in on that you need to be immune to, which is not all the time, but it's good enough, especially because you're weak to ground. It's good enough to have as an ability no matter what. And Rock and Fairy with that ground immunity is a great defensive combo. It does have a lot of common weaknesses to water. Well, not a lot. It only has 4 weaknesses, but water, grass, ground, and steel. Steel being 4 times. A lot of Pokemon get Bullet Punch. Flash Cannon is very strong, and a lot of Pokemon get that by coverage. Flash Cannon and Iron Tail are both very common coverage moves that are 110 base power, 90% accurate. So yeah, kind of hurt by that, but at the end of the day, not every Pokemon's going to have that on their moveset as a trainer. Obviously, as a player, you can tack that on and just kill it, but that's not always going to work. And not to mention, I'm pretty sure Carbink would totally eat a non-stab Flash Cannon or Iron Defense, Iron Tail, depending what it's coming from. Yeah, speaking of Carbink, it has Solid Rock, while Diancie has Magic Bounce and more HP and much more special attack. So while Carbink is significantly bulkier, it also has to run that Violite to be bulkier than Diancie. So you're trading a lot of power and a Hell Let 'em slot. Not to mention, that's a big deal is my point. Diancie wants items. You want items in this hack. The hack is pretty difficult, so you're going to want to run a lot of, items to secret little, to what's the word I'm thinking of? To counter, I guess you could say, certain boss fights. You're going to want specific items. You can't, don't get me wrong. Carbink is great. I'm not trying to undersell it. I also just don't want to oversell it because people might look at this and be like, well, no, Carbink is better than Diancie because they don't know what they're talking about, frankly. No, they are equal. I would say they're very equal. It depends on your personal preferences. It depends on your play style. It depends on your specific IVs and EVs. Say, for example, I don't know, if you're a special attack IVs and were shit and you were a minus special attack nature, you might want to run one or the other. You could either say Carbink because it's less offensive, or Diancie because you need the extra power. You could kind of go both ways with that argument, but you get my point. It loves the addition of, it loves the buff of a bunch of special rock moves. Ancient Power is still 60 base power, but it gives you +1 special defense now, which is pretty crazy. You do have reliable recovery and Sediment in Wish. Wish is pretty much worse, but you could run it for certain situations. You also have Draining Kiss as Diancie only, which is pretty cool. But most importantly, you have Sediment at 30, which is just in time for Olivia too, which is pretty crazy because she'll have a sand team. But Sediment is awesome. That will heal you by 2/3 in the sand, and then 1/2, regular recovery type move otherwise, and that's awesome. That's very, very good for all of them, all 3 of them. Mega Diancie, like I said, is very strong. Nothing crazy at all for this hack standards. This is like it doesn't even have a boosting ability. So like 175 special attack might seem crazy, but I promise you it's not. There are regular Pokemon that are significantly stronger than that because of their abilities. So yeah, nothing crazy. It's still great. Don't get it twisted. I mean, 75, 125, 125 bulk with Levitate and Serene Grace is great. Its Serene Grace options aren't incredible. It's more just this flavorful ability that I thought fit really well. That wasn't too overpowered. I was considering Revelation Dance, but that's ridiculous and broken. Even though its speed tier isn't the highest in this hack, you can check out the speed tier guide down below in the description on that Google Sheet. If you haven't already as well, you can check that out and see where the Pokemon stack up. Not to mention, you're not guaranteed max speed IVs or a plus speed nature. So like, you know, you might get shit luck and get a. I mean, it's not shit luck, but to get a minus speed nature, you just wouldn't be able to run Mega Diancie as efficiently. But yeah, Ancient Power gives Spadef now. That's awesome. That's so great with Sediment. Really, really awesome. Like max HP, max Phys Def, Ancient Power, and then like Draining Kiss on like Assault Vest Diancie. That goes crazy. That goes super crazy. Or Carbink with a Violet, and then you know you can run something else. But in general, it goes stupid. You know, it's nothing overpowered in the day. It does have still common weaknesses. There's a lot of crazy powerful Pokemon on attack, and again, it's all balanced for in-game use, so you can always just teach specific moves to counter things. And as for the player using things, it's balanced to be hardcore Nuzlocke, so you know you got to be careful with letting your mons faint and stuff. And in general, the power levels are super high. It'll be fun. It's nothing crazy at all. It's just a really fun Pokemon. I really like all three of them. Honestly, I think I prefer Carbink, but I don't know. They're all sick. It has a bunch of other good stab moves, so I guess I'll talk about the Serene Grace stuff. But before I do that, Power Gem, 90 base power. That has a 1 in 4 chance to give special attack, as well as Dazzling Gleam. Both of those have 1 in 4 chances to give you a special attack boost, and Signal Beam. So all three of those moves have a 50% chance to give you special attack in with Serene Grace. So that's the main use of Serene Grace. Flash Cannon will always drop Spadef with Serene Grace active, and then a bunch of other moves have like nice little effects like Energy Ball, Aura Sphere, Psychic, and Shadow Ball have high special defense drop rates with Serene Grace. You know, those are Earth Power, etc. Those are all cool. But most like I'd say the most consistent options you have are the special attack boosting ones and the Flash Cannon always dropping Spadef. It's not the greatest. Moon Blast also has a 60% chance to drop special attack. You also have Disarming Voice, which always drops special attack and physical attack, and that's 60 base power. So like Ancient Power, Disarming Voice, Draining Kiss, Assault Vest, Diancie, like Chef's Kiss. Like, you see what I mean? And that makes it much better than Carbink in certain cases, depending on your, you know, specific play style and what moves you want to teach and all that kinds of stuff. I'm not saying it's better. I just don't want people to think that Carbink is better than Diancie objectively because of a Violet. If you look at this and think that Carbink is better, I don't know how else to show you that it's not, because it's not. Carbink is great though. Don't get it twisted. I don't want to undersell or oversell either one because they're both awesome. Magic Bounce is a very valuable tool. So is Solid Rock though. You know, you take only 3 times damage from steel moves. So with the Violet and Solid Rock, you're definitely swallowing non-stab steel type moves, even despite the high base power. And then in terms of water, grass, and ground, those do only 1.5 times. Of course, Levitate gives you a complete immunity to ground, which, like I said earlier in the video, you're only going to use that for certain situations. In general, though, it's just got awesome coverage now as well. That was another issue that I remember Mega Diancie having. Everything in this hack has coverage for the most part, so that's nothing too special. You can just tack that on for specific fights to hit certain things if you want, but you do have to keep in mind that your level up moves cannot be retaught, so you do have to juggle those pretty carefully. For example, you have Pixie Dust, which is priority, which you're going to want, especially on base Diancie and Carbink, because they're slow. You're also going to want Sediment, you know, you're going to want Disarming Voice, you're going to want Ancient Power, you're going to want all types of stuff, so it's a little bit difficult to juggle your moves. Coverage is not always the best option, especially when you can just Volt Switch or switch out into your Pokemon that can use those moves and have stab on it. You know, not every Pokemon has to hit every Pokemon. That's not something you need in game. Not that it's bad. I mean, the coverage options are nice. Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, Aura Sphere, Psychic, Shadow Ball, and Mystical Fire, and various other moves of the same typing. Earth Power as well, Flash Cannon. You know, those are all great coverage moves that you can switch on. Very, very good. In general, they're just the GOAT. Trick Room is really cool, especially on Carbink and base Diancie. Magic Bounce Trick Room is awesome because, like I said earlier, Taunt is a pretty common way that the AI will try to stop you from doing things like that, and you bounce that right back. So you pretty much get off guaranteed Trick Rooms. And then you can Volt Switch into your Abuser, or you can obviously just abuse it yourself with your 125 base special attack. That's really sick. You could also technically try to set up with Calm Mind. Not the worst thing, but you only have so many move slots. The PP on setup moves is nerfed. There's a lot of crit moves running around that will crit through your boost. Like, it's not ideal at all. Not to mention there's stuff like, in this case, you have Heart Swap, Priority Heart Swap, that will fuck you over. Priority Topsy Turvy, Priority Haze. You know, it's really not, setup is not the best thing in this hack. So you can still run it though. You just have to be smarter about it. Mineral Shower is awesome. That's Mineral Shower and Floor Cannon. Basically, Mineral Shower is rock type Floor Cannon. That's a nice way to put it. So those are awesome. And you have Eternal Beam, which is a special, it's like a recoil move that is fairy type. So yeah, and again, you can check out what all these moves do down in the description, because there's a bunch of other little move buffs and changes I haven't even really had the time to talk about, like Radiant Edge, that's a fairy type Psyshock, that's pretty sick. You know, all types of nice options. Great Pokemon overall, all of them are awesome. Mega Diancie will probably be obtainable either at the League or at Seafold Village, depending on exactly where I decide to put the tiers of Mega Stones, but yeah, it would be a later game Mega for sure. But you know, at 40, which is like pre-Mimikyu, you'll have access to Diancie, or just keeping Carbink the entire time. Up to you, whatever you want to do. They're both great. I'm gonna leave the video off there. I think they're no longer physical attackers. Just number one. Oh, Diamond Storm doesn't exist. That's what Mineral Shower became. If that wasn't obvious, if I get a comment talking about, oh, what happened to Diamond Storm, I'm gonna be Serene Grace Diamond Storm. Oh wow, people just don't read. I don't know. A little bit of a venting dues, but yeah. Attack drop on all of them. I just think that fits best. Mega Diancie still has a decent attack stat, but you would never use it. It's significantly lower than your physical attack. I guess I could have put like Rock Wrecker as like a meme for like a mixed set. You could maybe justify that. Or like Play Rough Serene Grace, you could maybe justify in certain situations, because Play Rough is a 1-time base power recoil move that has a 50% chance to drop attack. So with Serene Grace, that's guaranteed. So you could in theory use that with Serene Grace on Mega Diancie if you wanted. Not to mention, like, if it's a Pokemon that's weak to Play Rough, it's still probably going to one-shot if it's like a frail Pokemon. So well, then at that point you don't need the attack drop. You get the idea, right? It's not the greatest thing in the world. It's just there for flavor. In general, though, they're all awesome. I love all three of them. Super sick buffs and changes as always. Make sure you check out that Google Sheet if you haven't already. Make sure you drop a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you listen this far into the video and this is your first impression of my channel. Because every Pokemon is like reworked, not literally evolving into new Pokemon, although there are other Pokemon that do this. Quite a few actually. But I mean, in terms of the style of buffing the Pokemon and stuff, you could definitely give everything else a look, because like I said, this is nothing crazy in the grand scheme of things. It's just another great Pokemon. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll be back for more coming up. Peace, y'all.